Why don't we do like a Joker lane or a pro section or something like that? That would be really, really cool to implement into the ISOC tour. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another installment of the Vignette Podcast. I do believe this is episode 34. We took a little bit of a break with the holidays after Ironwood, and we also shot up to the Northern Power Race Park for their Border Cup with the CSRA, and that was a phenomenal time up there. Had a really, really good time. They have plenty of snow. The event itself was really, really great. We were planning on going last year, but some things came up. We unfortunately got sick. The whole family got sick, and I didn't want to risk going up there while being sick and leaving everybody behind. So I decided to stay home. But this year I had the opportunity to go up there and capture some content, cover the event, interview some of the Canadian riders, talk to some of the Canadian riders, and see how their season is going, and yeah, just getting to know those guys, because I really don't get to talk to many of them except for on social media. So it was really good to have that face-to-face conversation and to see what kind of talent is coming out of the CSRA series, as well as some of those guys are really, really fast, and I think some of those guys should come over to ISOC. We saw Taylor McCoy last year jump in the pro class at Ironwood, but we haven't seen anybody else from the CSRA series come and compete in the ISOC National Tour, which open invite to anyone at the CSRA events that want to come and join in at the ISOC Nationals. I know it's a little bit of a haul for you guys, but I think it'd be a great benefit getting some different tracks for you guys to learn, some different competition, and just to see how you stack up with these national riders here in the ISOC National Tour. So again, open invite. Hope to see you guys at one of or at some of the events. I know some of you guys will be at Valcor, but maybe you guys will have interest in joining in some of the other nationals. So hopefully we'll see you guys at some of them. And tailing off of that, like I said, had a great weekend at the Border Cup. Mark Archambault has a great facility up there. Can't say anything but great things. If you guys are looking for a track to practice at, or just to have some extra seat time and you want to race against some great talent, check out Northern Power Race Park. Great facility, got lots of snow. Steve doing all the grooming, track design up there. So he's a national caliber track designer. You won't have a basic track at all. You guys will have obstacles that will challenge you and everything in between. So check those guys out, Northern Power Race Park. But up on the docket next is Canterbury Park, rounds 3 and 4 of the National Tour. Daytona of Snowcross is what it's called. It's synonymous with the sport of snowcross. I think it's going on 30 years. Canterbury Park has been holding snowcross nationals. It's a staple on the national tour for sure, and it's one of the people's favorites next to some of the other tracks on the tour. But I think everybody will say Canterbury is one of the top runners as their favorite track. But this past weekend was a great showing. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I do track ratings now for all the national tracks, and I gave the track a 7.5 out of 10. A little bit lower than Ironwood. I think at Ironwood I gave it an 8.5, but 7.5 due to some of the negatives that I brought to attention. Track hasn't changed the last few years, last 10 years. It's been the same old design. Really, you have the Air Force Flyaway, which was great on Friday, wasn't so good on Saturday. And then you have the start straight going straight into a rhythm section, which is a little dangerous if you ask me. Over the past couple years, I think they should have changed that or came up with a different tactic, or maybe had a crossover start somewhere. Just change it up so then the riders can get there smoothly. I did notice that they didn't touch on it in the drivers meet or in the riders meeting, but they were the starting line guy was having everybody come into a group and saying you cannot triple, or you cannot triple into the rhythm section off the start, and you cannot triple the finish line off the start. But you can triple the Air Force off the start, and after that, after you make that first lap, you then can start tripling, which makes a lot of sense because it was just getting really, really dicey for people, and it just gets very risky, as we have captured many, many crashes off the start at Canterbury on camera, and it just gets really, I don't know. I think they should just change it up every single weekend for the riders. Maybe have, like I said, a crossover on the start, have the start at an angle, kind of like what they did with Deadwood when Tucker Hibbert won his 100th win. They started by the grandstands, and then they crossed over with a left-hand start going into the rhythm section. That would slow riders down. Would it make it so then the outside guy gets pushed out? Possibly, but that makes it better for the racing and the heat races, because then you got to have a better qualifying seat. But who knows? Just my 2 cents, and I think that everybody that comments on all the content or on all the posts from Snowcross, I think they come with good ideas, and ISOC should be looking at those. But going off of that, it was a good weekend. It was very deep. The track was very deep for how much snow that they had. I kind of enjoyed having a deep, technical, if you would say, track that the riders had to really think about what lines they were going to choose and how they were going to get through rhythm sections. And it wasn't a rider's track, but it was very technical in the sense of you had to choose your lines right, like I said, and to get over a double section or the rhythm section at the finish line, before the finish line, was very tricky. One of the riders, Noah Daly, let me say his last name correctly. I was in his trailer where I overheard him talking to his dad, saying that he could not get that section correctly because he just couldn't find a good rhythm. So that's what challenges riders, and I like to see that. So I think that was a good aspect to the track. Outside of that, they should have made more significant changes on Saturday compared to Friday. I think they could have made the track a little bit more fun, or had Saturday's track be Friday's track and Friday's track be Saturday's track, because in my eyes, I'd rather see an okay track on Friday but have a really good track on Saturday. That's just my 2 cents, and I think the fans would agree with that, because a lot more fans attend on Saturdays than they do Fridays. Granted, there was a full house on Friday, but it was a sold-out show on Saturday. So would fans really want to see a better track on Saturday or Friday? I think they'd want to see a better track on Saturday. So again, not complaining, not saying, just having my 2 cents here. Instead of breaking down the track on Saturday, why don't you bring it up more from what Friday was and have a more technical track? Let's say you put in a wall section, or you do like a triple, double, triple, or maybe a triple to table a double to table or a table to double or something along those lines that it makes it more fun to watch and it's not just a hammer fest out there. Because really the Air Force section was just a hard double that you really couldn't get, especially for some of the junior riders, sport riders. And it, like, the Air Force is supposed to be the biggest jump on the track next to the finish line. So why not just build it up more, or have that section be more technical, or have an off-center rhythm section where the outside line develops, and that could be the fastest line when it comes to heat race number 1, and then the inside starts to develop even more, and then that becomes the fastest line in the final. So then you're kind of opening more of a rider's track, and the riders can hit different sections, not just kind of follow the leader and have a section where it's the same. I noticed that on Saturday, I think it was Saturday, that a lot of guys were tripling in on the rhythm section before the finish, and some riders couldn't. Again, that's a rider's track. That's making it so then the riders really have to know what line they're going to choose, and then the line kind of went away a little bit, that your run up to that triple, and it was kind of that, I think the face, or just it was just getting very difficult, and the riders just didn't have enough speed or whatnot, or maybe some riders just didn't want to seat bounce it going into the triple, and they were kind of doubling, and maybe that was a little bit faster than tripling and landing on the top of the knuckle of the triple. Who knows? It kind of seemed that way, but again, you're making it so then these riders really have to hone in their craft a little bit more, go back to the trailer and talk to their teams and see, hey, what sector of the track was faster? Where can I make up more time? Can I go outside a little bit more? Should I just hug the inside and keep my line and not risk, crashing on a big triple when it's not really worth it, and doing the double? Things that these riders got to think about. So again, just my 2 cents on Canterbury. And the way I rated it was because it hasn't changed. I think ISOC needs to change a whole lot on their track design. I know that Groomer Steve has taken the reins on designing the track and kind of putting his own spin on it, which, again, it was a good track. Wasn't a great track. That's just my 2 cents. All right, moving on. We noticed that there has been a video floating around of a previous East Coast rider, Matthew Marin, which we have not heard that name in such a while. I know that he retired from snowcross quite a bit ago, probably coming up on, it would be 12 or 13 years ago or something like that. Last time I saw him on a sled was when I was shooting for the East Coast Snowcross Series, and he unfortunately got taken out, but a broken femur, I do believe that's what his injury was. But the video showed him being on an Arctic Cat. And is this where people are going to start going to? Are they going to start going back to Arctic Cat with the support that Arctic Cat has brought to the table? That confidence that people can feel once again with Arctic Cat, as we see that Daniel Benham is the points leader, and we'll get into him a little bit later on. But Matthew Marin, I've gotten a couple DMs from a couple people that know him, and it seems like he's going to be contesting in the Quebec series. That could be the CSRA series. Or SCMX, sorry. One of the two. I think Quebec is CSRA. I could be wrong. There's just too many series to to remember. But Matthew Marin coming back out of the shadows and back on a sled. In the video, he looked like he hasn't lost a beat. One guy wrote on Instagram, he's like, he could probably compete in the pro class, which I'm sure he can. He has lots of talent. That guy is known for having incredible speed. He had battled with prior teammate on the Ingles Performance sled, Danny Poirier. There were teammates back on the East Coast Series, and lots of talent there. So where does this lead Matthew Marin? It would be cool to see him on the ISOC National Tour competing either in Pro Light or Pro Am 30. But we'll just have to wait and see what he does. Very cool to see him on an Arctic Cat. I kind of didn't expect that. I honestly did not expect that with him being Canadian and him being previous rider for Skidoo. So yeah, very exciting to see that. And if you guys want to go check out the video, it's on Carbide Podcast, Instagram, and probably Facebook. That's where I saw it. So go check it out. If you're a fan of Matthew Marin, the number 27, go check out the video, see how he's looking, and drop in the comments below what you guys think. Tailing off of that, I want to kind of go back to Daniel Benham. He is 9 points ahead of second place coming out of Canterbury. He was 11 or 12 points ahead of second place, and that was Gustav Salston, I do believe, but now it's Jordan LaBelle in second place. But 9 points. Saturday at Canterbury, he could not pull it together. He got into a gnarly wreck off the start. Again, going back to the starts at Canterbury. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, because if you come out of the start really good, you got your advantage. But if everybody kind of bundles up and you have a crash, you're in that kind of situation, and then you got to work your way back up, yeah, that's a racing incident. And that's what happened. Daniel Benham got into a crash with Jacob Björk. I think it was Francis Pelletier and himself. So he was back of the pack. I think he made way all the way up into 6. I don't know. I honestly didn't even look at the results for that race. But again, that was a telling sign of where he was going to have to push and how he was going to have to do better in the final. And he did. He came out swinging in the final. He did really, really good. I think he maybe ended up 4th or 5th. I could be wrong. 4th or 5th, one of those two. I know he was in the top, and he got a really good start. He was on the outside, and I think he was 3rd coming off the start, 3rd or 4th, one of the two. But he didn't get on the podium. Podium was Jordan LaBelle. Jordan LaBelle, Riley Bester, and Creighton Dillon. That was your top 3 from Saturday. So I'm gonna guess that Daniel Benham was top 4, top 5, one of those two. I know he was right there, battling and just trying to gain as many points as he could with the bad starts, with the bad heat races. But again, he's 9 points ahead. That's a good gap. That's a good gap going into Canterbury 2.0, as we're going to call it, as that is the makeup weekend or makeup venue for Deadwood being canceled due to weather restrictions. So yeah, Daniel Benham, what a guy, man. He is coming out swinging. He is putting Arctic Hat on that top step with the red plate, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what he's doing. He's eating his Wheaties or something, and he is on a mission. He is on a mission to carry that red plate to the end, it seems like. But we'll circle back to him. I got a little update from him. We'll get into the updates later on. But continuing on, Already talked about it. Canterbury being rounds 5 and 6 for the makeup venue of Deadwood due to weather restrictions. And it kind of sucks because Deadwood is my favorite venue to go to because of the history, the venue itself. Downtown is so beautiful. You got the Black Hills, you got all the billy goats or all the mountain goats climbing the mountains. The views are beautiful. The little shops that they have there, shopping is endless. The food is phenomenal. The track is right there across the street from the hotel. You don't have to, walk far or drive far. It's so nice. And just the atmosphere itself. Kind of bummed because I really like Deadwood. The drive kind of sucks out there. 8 hours, just nonstop. It's like driving to Fargo. There's nothing out there. But once you get to Deadwood, it's such a reward because of how beautiful the venue is. But Canterbury's a great venue too, and I'm excited to see what they do for rounds 5 and 6. I know that they're going to put something together really good, so looking forward to Canterbury 2.0. And going back to Deadwood next year in 2027. So going next, let's talk about Canterbury 2.0 while we're on the topic. I have heard that we're going to have a backwards track. The start's going to stay the same, but it's going to go towards the Air Force. If you can picture it, start here, and then the start's going to go to the left towards the Air Force section, and then it's going to come around towards the finish line, and then they're going to cross over the start stretch, and then go down towards Gravity Cavity, that first dog leg, and then you're going to shoot back towards the Air Force, and I think they're going to do another dog leg, which would be really cool. And I think there were toss-ups, or not toss-ups, but there was ideas that somebody messaged me with Canterbury. Why don't we do like a Joker lane or a pro section or something like that? That would be really, really cool to implement into the ISOC tour. When I used to shoot quads back on the national ATV tour, they would always have a pro section that was dedicated to the pros. Now, the amateurs would never touch this section. It was Unadilla, Redbud, and a couple other tracks. I can't remember which tracks. But Unadilla specifically, they would have a pro section, and it was a tabletop. You made a left-hander, and then you went towards a rhythm section. It was just maybe 10 to 15 seconds, a little bit longer than the normal national track. And they do that section on the Dirt Bike National Tour as well. But how cool would that be? Change up the track and then throw in a little mix like that. Have a Joker lane or just have a pro section that is just something different from what everybody else sees. That would make it so much more different. Now, the comment what this person wrote to me was, why don't we have a section behind the Jumbotron? So here's the problem with that. One, the fans won't see it. Two, I don't think Canterbury would go for it because of that grass section back there. And three, that is a lot more snow that they would have to blow. So if they did a pro section off of that second dog leg to where that groomer sits, coming back towards the finish line, that's where you would do that pro section. That would be really, really cool. That seems the best option for just where the track is. So drop your guys' thoughts on what you think, how they could implement that, because I think that would be cool. Just to have a pro section for pro and pro light. Maybe pro women, but nothing for the amateur classes. Nothing for sport, nothing for sport light, and nothing for Pro, or well, maybe throw Pro 30 in there because they are one of the pro classes, if you will. They have pro in their name. But to have a pro section, I think that would be really cool. Yeah, so any other changes to Canterbury 2.0? I don't know. I haven't heard anything else besides the start straight and the track being backwards, and possibly a second dog leg. So if you guys heard of anything else, let me know. I would like to hear what your guys' 2 cents are, what you've heard. So again, drop that in the comment section below. Now here's an interesting topic that I was talking to one of the race directors about. Can't say names because I kind of want to keep them out of the loop, or keep their name private. But how cool would this be to have X Games part of the ISOC National Tour? I was told that they would be very open to it. Now, my question would be, how do you add in that extra race, those extra points for the amateur classes? Because that would be 2 pro weekends. So then that brings points for the amateur classes down to 6 weekends. Where would you do the makeup? Now, what I was told is that Duluth, instead of having the showdown, you have that be a points makeup for the amateur classes. Okay. I can get behind that. But then what about the showdown? I didn't ask that question because it was kind of off the whim, what my initial thought on the points. But going back to the X Games being part of the ISOC National Tour, that would be mind-blowing. That would be really cool to have 2 pro weekends dedicated to the pros, and to have that TV time would be extremely huge for the series. X Games is the pinnacle of action sports. They have been around for, I don't even know how long, since the 90s, late 80s, I think it was early 90s. Early 90s, X Games came about. But having ISOC part of the X Games, or X Games part of ISOC, would be huge. And I was told that the series really wants to go out west. They have been talking with Jackson Hole for the hill climbs and implementing snowcross around their schedule and having it the same weekend as the Jackson Hole hill climb. And they just said there wasn't enough parking. And where would they have the track? Have it right there on the ski hill. Right where they're doing the Jackson Hole hill climb. Right there on the start. How cool would that be? And the person that told me all this, they said they won't do it because of the parking, and the board doesn't want it, which kind of sucks. I think it's the Snow Devils up there or something like that. They just, what the person told me was that they're just a bunch of old people that don't really see the benefit of having snowcross at Jackson Hole, which if we went back to Jackson Hole, because we were there for 2 years in 2019? It was 2 years back to back. I can't remember what it was. I think it was 2017 and 2018, or 2018 and 2019. One of those 2 years. That venue is so beautiful. It's just like going to Deadwood, in my eyes. Beautiful venue. Beautiful atmosphere, and downtown is, again, just like Deadwood. I don't know why they don't make it happen. Maybe Colorado would be a good venue too. Or I guess Aspen's in Colorado. Wow, let me take those words back. To go to X Games in Colorado would be really cool to have on the tour. So that's just my 2 cents. Let's make it happen. let's get those gears going, and let's bring X Games to ISOC or ISOC to X Games. I know with the speed and style and freestyle with X Games and Joe Duncan bringing those back to the X Games, that was a pivotal moment for snowmobiles. A lot of people have been asking for it. And also, if you guys have been tuning in to YouTube on the X Games YouTube channel, they have been dropping hints of snowcross and bringing back old coverage of snowcross with Tugger Hibbert, Blair Morgan, the old X Games snowcross races. They've been uploading those. I think the first video got like 14,000 views. Second video is like 6,000 views. So let's get those numbers up. Let's show them that we want snowcross back at X Games, and let's get ISOC and X Games together. So next up, let's jump into rider updates. Touched on Daniel Benham. We're going to circle back to him. And before we get into the rider updates, I only have 2 this episode. I reached out to Zach Farmer. He didn't message back. And I also reached out to Carter Van Horsey, who he had a great weekend, getting 4 podiums, both it was 2 podiums Friday, 2 podiums Saturday. So he got a couple seconds, couple thirds. I don't remember what the overall results, but I know he was on the box. But this segment is brought to you by CNA Pro Skis, our great friends over there in Hutchinson, Minnesota. CNA Pro Skis is the top line ski in the snowmobile industry, whether it comes to trail riding, mountain riding, watercross, snowcross, ditch banging, whatever your application is. Go grab yourself a pair of CNA Pro skis, best skis on the market. Can ask anybody. Dave Fisher, Scott Iyer, Daniel Benham. You ask anybody in the Ditch Banger National at ERX. You ask anybody, best skis on the market. So if you guys are are looking for a new pair of skis, or to update the pair of skis that you have on your snowmobile, whether you are riding a vintage sled and you have those old factory aluminum skis that continue to bend and break, go grab yourself a set of CNA Pro skis, caproskis.net. Check them out and grab yourself a set. So yeah, let's get into these rider updates. Daniel Benham, right off the bat, I asked him about previous years riding Arctic Cat. Last year he was with Polaris, with K2 Motorsports. This year he is back on Arctic Cat, and we kind of knew he was going to go back. There was little hints, tidbits here and there, people saying that he was going to go back to Arctic Cat when Arctic Cat is coming back, and they are. So he made the jump back to Arctic Cat, and he is now with Fratellone Racing, one of the teams that we heard that possibly would have gone away if they weren't going to get support. And with Polaris pulling back their race budgets, everybody was pulling the race budgets back. And Daniel Benham did have a seat over there. They were going to keep him. But if you know Daniel Benham, he is an Arctic Cat guy through and through. No hate on Polaris, but you just can't pull him away from Arctic Cat. Even though he has ridden all 3 manufacturers, he was with Warner Racing for 2 years. After, I do believe, the Factor Arctic Cat team went away, he got signed by Warner Racing. But nevertheless, he is now back on Arctic Cat. I'm going to say it over and over again. But yeah, I asked him what has changed over the last couple of years from being factory Arctic Cat to who was he with? I think he was with All Finish after that. I don't remember. I don't remember. I think there was somebody in between. Oh, it was Skidoo. Yeah, it was Warner. And then signing with, I feel like there's somebody else there too. I think it was Factory Arctic Cat, where he won his Pro Light title, and then he rode in Pro, and then signed with Warner, went with somebody else there, and then went with All Finish. I don't remember who it was. Maybe there wasn't somebody there. But anyways, went to All Finish, and then that fizzled away. He didn't have a ride. Oh, no. He rode for Woody's. He rode for Woody's after All Finish. Didn't have a ride. Found a ride with Polaris, and then with K2 Motorsports, and now he's back with Arctic Cat. Yeah, that seems about right. So all those years with Arctic Cat, what has changed? And that's the ultimate question that I asked him. What has changed? Because now he's on a different level. He has the red plates, and he is just putting Arctic Cat back on that top step. So let's get into it. That's a tough question to answer because really everything has changed. The biggest thing is probably having the complete freedom to take what I've learned over the past few years and applied them directly to my sled and myself. Being able to pick up and choose who's involved with the team has been a huge help this year. Plus, the best part of Fratellone racing is the family aspect. No matter if it's a good or bad day at the track, it will always be a good atmosphere off the track. It's still way early to be focused on points. It's cool having the red plates right now, but all that matters is leaving the last race with them. So yeah, 9 points between him and second place of Jordan LaBelle. This is huge. I guess it's just his experience that he's taken over the past years and applying it, like he said, to his team now. And that's huge. That's huge. Having the freedom to do whatever you want, and whatever he's doing, he's got the perfect mixture. He's like Salt Bae. He's just got it all right now. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing, Daniel Bedham. It is working, and just keep it on that box, man. Next up, got Ryan Szymanski. I asked him, or before we get into that, he had a great weekend. He got on the box every single class. I think he got 1 second, but out of that, he dominated the whole weekend. The kid is phenomenal. He is really phenomenal, and I see him being hold on here. I'm just writing down some thoughts. I see him being in a Polaris trailer soon and getting signed by a Polaris team soon. The kid is phenomenal. As we saw with Cody Morris in, I think it's Sportlight and Junior 14-15, he signed with Team LaValle. I think it was last year was his first year with them. But same goes for Ryan Szymanski. I think he's going to end up in a semi sooner than later. With his talent, with his rider forward racing craft, he is just go, go, go. And his dominance over the last couple of years is just phenomenal. So whatever teams out there are scouting right now, look out for Ryan Szymanski because he's coming. And maybe K2 Motorsports because they already work together. He's got Speedworks. He's got Fly Racing. He's got everything pretty much the same as K2 Motorsports. So that would probably be a good fit. But I asked him about his weekend, and he also won the Dominator Award, which that's a new thing that they're doing this year. They're not doing the Dominator race, but each weekend they're looking out for the most improved, most dominant rider out on the track. Ironwood, Avery Hemmer got it. Kudos to her. She did really, really good. But this weekend, they chose Ryan Szymanski because he just dominated the weekend. It was phenomenal. And it's awesome that they're not just going after the pro guys. They're doing junior riders. They're doing sport riders. They're doing pretty much anybody. And it could be mechanics as well, from what I've heard. So I asked him about his weekend and what he thought about the winning the Dominator Award, and also how he's feeling going into Canterbury 2.0, and what his thoughts are on what the track is going to be. So let's dive right into it. This was totally unexpected. It was a really cool experience. It was a really cool experience and something I'll always remember. I'd like to give some of it to my parents for all they do for me and invest the rest. I like the idea of having a... start over there. I like the idea of having a corner after the start and adding another dog leg. I definitely like bigger tracks. I think it would be interesting if we went backwards, have some bigger jumps and unique jumps like step-ups and technical rhythm sections versus pounders. You heard it. You heard it from Ryan Szymanski, the second guy to get the Dominator Award, which I totally forgot that I asked him what he was going to do with his money, with his $1,000. So he's gonna give it back to his parents and also invest a little bit, which is a good idea. Great tactic for a junior rider as well. But Canterbury, he makes some really good points, unique jumps, step-ups, technical rhythm sections, and less pounders. I did get an update from Zach Farmer, so let's dive right in. Canterbury was a bit of a roller coaster. I went from P2 in the first heat right off the rip, which was a great start and showed where we stack up. Speed-wise, I got tangled with another rider off the start in Heat 2 and ended up crashing off the finish line. Unfortunately, we blew a read in the final, which put an immediate end to Friday night. I did sustain a neck injury from the crash on Friday, and that definitely affected my performance. On Saturday, I've been doing therapy and treatments this week to get the whiplash settled down and feel confident heading into the next round. Overall, I feel like I'm in a good spot. The P2 early on gives me motivation going into rounds 5 and 6. The goal is always to be on top, and I'm fired up to get back out there next weekend and put it all together. So Zach Farmer reached back out on Instagram, and obviously this was after I recorded the original. So, tune in, continue the podcast, and enjoy. I do have one last thing that I want to talk about before I end the podcast, and I noticed this at the Border Cup. Jesse Kirchmeier, which we have not seen return to the ISOC stage since he has gone over to overseas, but I saw him at the Border Cup. He had a mod Polaris, twin pipes. Don't know what else he had, but it seemed like the sled was not lacking on horsepower, and it sounded really, really good. If you guys, again, follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you would have seen the video that I posted of him starting his sled, getting it tuned with Hemmer Motorsports. But this is where I want to touch on. With the fill-in that Hemmer Motorsports had with Adam Ashline, what if Jesse Kirchmeier filled in for Hemmers while Tyler is still out? Or rode for K2 Motorsports, one of the two. I think that would be a great position for Jesse Kirchmeier, especially with him not doing ISOC, and it's kind of a bummer because he's a fan favorite, and I'm a fan of his. Just food for thought. If Polaris is listening, get that kid a ride. we were messaging back and forth, and he really enjoys the personnel over at Hemmer Motorsports, and it seemed like he gelled very well with over there, with them helping with ECU tuning on his mod sled and just trying to get him the best sled possible to do the mod shootout over there at the Border Cup. So, again, if Polaris is listening, get another fill-in rider. And any other team out there, do fill-in rides for these injured riders for your teams, because I'm sure that the manufacturers need to see their brand out there. I know you guys need to see your brand out there, especially if it's in the pro light class. Do fill-in rides. Make it happen. I know you guys used to do it back in the day. Emil Haar was a fill-in rider for Warner at one point. So make the fill-in rides happen. We need it for the sport. You guys need to do it. And there's a lot of riders out there that could really benefit it. And there's a lot of talent out there. So just again, another food for thought. So that's going to wrap up the podcast for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Touch on or drop in the comments below what you guys thought about some of the talking topics that I brought to the table. I want to hear your guys' thoughts, and hopefully we see XGames and ISOC bring the big show. That would be huge. All right. See you guys in the next one, and good luck to everybody at the World Championship in Eagle River. Sadly, I will not be attending. I was hoping to, but kind of want to take a break as Canterbury and Ironwood. There's a lot of racing going on, and I need to take as many breaks as I can. But yeah, good luck to everybody out there, and I will see all the Ice Oval guys in Valcourt. So, peace out, everybody.